This lovely talk show slash podcast slash basically just a talk show. Thanks for tuning in if you're listening or watching.
Why do you have to delineate that it's not a podcast or is a podcast?
I don't know what this is, and the people listening or watching, all 25 of you, also don't
all 25
also don't know what this is. Welcome back to Book Salad. I'm here with my boy Nate today. Man, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, man.
Good old university friend. Honestly, an elite university friend. We were just kind of catching up over a beer. We talked about a lot of our memories that we're going to dive into. Starting with Digital Glue, the short film that I filmed about 2 years ago now.
Yep.
Nate came down as, I don't know what the word is. Basically, we wrote the script on the way down, and it was trash, and then Nate fixed it every day.
Sort of.
Every night before we went to bed, Nate took the script and was like, okay, this is trash. Let me rewrite this.
Yeah.
Every night, and then you did it with the actress and actress?
Yep.
And,
I sit down with them in front of the campfire every morning and be like, okay, this is what I wrote last night while y'all were out drinking beers. I was in the tent.
Okay. Like
I was in the tent slaving away.
Like you weren't drinking Busch Light, dude. When we had Asheville, North Carolina on the map,
right?
You told me you would come down and do whatever script bullshit nonsense fixing. If you could go to Asheville, North Carolina, I was just like, back of my mind, I was like, whatever, man. Like, we'll try and get there. We'll see what happens. I'm actually thinking to myself, there's no way.
It was supposed to be like a half day stopover, if that. We were supposed to pass through.
It was like, yeah, we'll pass through, Nate. That'll make you happy. You said that it would take to make you happy.
Yeah.
And then one of our 3-car convoys got a flat tire, and Nate got himself a little 48 hours in Asheville.
It was beautiful. So for context, Asheville is a really small town in North Carolina. Not really small. It's like 20,000 people or something like that.
200. It's almost as Waterloo. Yeah, it's actually bigger than you think.
Oh, well, okay. The downtown core is pretty small though, right? It's pretty tight.
Man, we filmed scenes in there. You don't remember? It was actually it was a decent size.
I guess.
But it's a weird American town because it's definitely not a city by any means.
No, yeah. It feels small. We'll say that.
It's very unique. I've never been in an American city like that, actually.
Yeah. It feels small. And you got the mountains rising on all sides and whatever.
Beautiful.
But this little, not that little, I guess, but this small city has an insane number of craft breweries and really, really well renowned ones. So we basically set the Google Maps once we knew we were in Asheville for as long as we were. We set the Google Maps to our first brewery location. Just did a bar crawl that night, and then the same thing the next day.
Oh my God, we did the next day too.
Yeah, because we went we did walking the next day. We did down that one street all the way to Green Man, and yeah.
Great memories, and I'm glad you got your beer fixed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was amazing. So many good beers.
When did you start drinking craft beer?
When?
Obviously after the age of 19.
After the age of 19. No, I mean it's actually funny. I think the first legal drinking experience I had was at Abe Herb in Waterloo. So it started technically right from the get-go. But at the same time, I don't think I was really into craft beer right from the the get-go, right? It took a little while to kind of get into it a little bit more, and I think it was kind of just a slow process.
It is,
you know?
I remember my first couple times was with my friend Nick in first year residence, and Nick would always be so kind and generous and give me a sip or let me try one of his beers he was experimenting with it. This one's a 6.5 triple batch brewed from Belgium, and it was just that having that experience obviously gave me the groundwork to start experimenting myself. I feel like if you don't have that initial push from someone, you might just fall into that Bud Light Budweiser stream, which is a fun stream to fall into if you're partying and turning up all the time.
Totally. I mean, if you're going out with the intent of drinking, don't go buy some craft beers. Enjoy them. They're meant to be enjoyed.
Yes.
I think I drink, I don't know if I drink more now than I did when I was in university or whatever, but I drink far, far, far less.
Right.
Like, there's many a casual beer with dinner sort of thing. Try something out, see what it tastes, you know, see what stacks up against other things I've had. But yeah, much less like time to get 12 PBRs and go wild, you know. Like,
It feels like it's been so long since I've seen you.
it's been a little while.
What have you been up to?
Well, at the moment, we're sitting in a car in downtown Toronto.
Okay.
And I just came from a job that I literally just started. So yeah, I am in a little bit of a transitional period right now. I left my job at a company in Markham a couple weeks ago, and I've started here this week, and it's been a really interesting experience. Like, I wasn't actively seeking a new job, but a former coworker contacted me and introduced me to her brother, who is the head of the design team at this company I'm at now. And yeah, we got talking like back in December, really casually, and then he sent me a job description and asked me to give feedback on the job description, just like, do you think this all makes sense and whatever else. So I gave him some points that I had, and then he jokingly said like, okay, so when can I hire you? And I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going.
Right on.
So then I had an interview with him like the next week, and then I got an offer the week after. But while all this was going on, my company was wrapping up like a really, really big lawsuit. And it ended up being that 15 minutes before I got the phone call where I knew that I was going to get an offer from this company I'm at now, I found out that the ruling had come down on that lawsuit, and my company that I was with had just won $236 million. So making the decision to leave the company at that time when the value of the company just skyrocketed from that win, and it was like obviously a humongous win, was like a really, really tough decision, because I was like, well, this changes everything, you know, like the company could be in a completely different space in 6 months or whatever. So am I making the right call? Because yeah, like, and then 15 minutes after I found that out, I have this phone call, and then over that weekend, I have to make a decision about like, okay, am I going to stay or am I going? I have barely any time to like figure it out. So then I accept the offer. I go through in my head, and I'm weighing the options, and I end up deciding that I'm gonna, you know, make the jump. It's time for me to move. I want to be downtown. There's more people I know here. There's more of a space for me to build a community, and that was something that I was really lacking in Markham.
Oh, no doubt.
It's not I mean, it's a great little like bedroom neighborhood, and there's lots of really good food up there and that sort of thing, but it's not very walkable, and that's something that I'm very about at this point in my life. And it's not really built for younger people in the earlier stages of their lives. So I had a really hard time building a community there, so I'm really looking forward to being able to do that here. But yeah, so I accept this offer on the Tuesday. I go in that morning, and I'm like, how am I going to tell my boss this? Like, what do I tell him? Do I tell him? Because my plan was to resign on the Friday. And I was like, I don't know. I got to figure out a way to, like, you know, break it to him nicely, you know, let him know that it's coming before I actually say it or whatever. I'm like an hour into the day, and I get a message from my boss, and he's like, hey, can you pop into one of the little rooms? I've got something to tell you. And I was like, oh, okay. Because usually when he does that, it's like, it's going to be something political, because he doesn't want people to hear it. So he's like, pop into a little room. So I pop into this room. I hop on a call with him. He's like, hey, just so you know, the head of our department just resigned. So yeah, things are pretty up in the air right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I got on the phone with him, and I'm like, what do I do now? Like, I gotta just tell him, because it's gonna be super weird if I tell him like later and he finds out that I knew when he was giving me this news about like literally the guy right above him who like runs our whole department resigning. So I just called him back right away and told him then. And I mean, I think he took it well. I was in a place where I was stuck. Like, I was kind of stuck in this holding pattern where for me to grow, the company needed to grow. And I didn't see any evidence that that was going to happen anytime soon. I knew it was possible, but with this opportunity on the table, I knew that I had the chance to grow in this new place. So it was like, I can take a risk here, stay, and maybe grow in 6 months, maybe. Right. Or I can make this jump now and have this whole like world open up to me again for the next little while, right? So it was a tough call, but that's the end up being the way it went.
Is that just the time we're living in then, where people are turning to the idea of making sure they're actually happy in their job and learning to grow, because I think it could go both ways. But maybe as you see this whole younger generation kind of go through the workforce and the 9-to-5 grind, you're seeing that they're turning over jobs a lot more quickly.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. I had a conversation with a freelance client when I was still in school, and she was advising me on like my future, my career, and she was like, not really solicited advice, but advice, and she was like, just like, one of the best things you can have as an employee is loyalty. Like, stay with the company you're with and like give them like as much as you can or whatever. And I took that to heart to a certain degree, and I think that was part of why I found leaving so challenging, because I felt like in a certain way I was like falling into this like millennial trope of like, oh, millennials always leave their companies after the second they're not happy or whatever. And I didn't want to like be part of that statistic, for lack of a better term.
Right.
But then I got thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way that people in our sort of demographic are approaching their work. And I don't like, is that inherently bad? Because it does mean that definitely companies are spending more time and energy finding people, because there's a higher turnover rate in general. I think people who get comfortable. Like, you end up in a position where like you're going into work every day, you know what your metrics you have to be hitting are and whatnot, and you're just doing what you need to do, and that's it. You're doing the bare minimum of what's necessary for you to like keep your job and keep the relationships with everyone around you and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that, because like work isn't everything. And if you've reached a point in your life where for you it's not about, you know, crushing it every day, crushing it at work, and you want to just like go in and like have that be your day, be that like exactly your 9 to 5, and then after that you don't think about it anymore, then more power to you, you know. But there's, I think in our age demographic, especially at this time in our lives, there's a lot of people who are like ambitious and they want to see how far they can go.
Yeah.
You know, and if opportunity comes knocking, or if you hit a ceiling and you know you can go higher than that ceiling, people are gonna move. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like the reality of the time we're living in.
I agree, man. Let's keep that rolling. We'll be right back. Let's roll an ad. Alright, so I'm gonna play a little Instagram video that I posted yesterday right here.
Alright, so I'm trying to be on my phone way less, but that's kind of hard when you're trying to make plans with people to be on the show, and then they hit you up and they want to be on the show, but then they say they can't make the plans that you had arranged for the time slot that you decided to be on, but like, why you want to be on the show anyways if you can't make it?
So that's the 90s. That's the 90s topic. So I thought we could end this car conversation talk show with the little debate about between Vince and Nate.
It was basically asking the question of like,
how?
Man, we have access to all this technology for communication, and I still am having like a hard time like finding the time to meet with people and like making it work out with their schedules and whatnot. How do they do it in the 90s?
But it was a very left, like, what side do you want? Like, did they make it work in the 90s or did they not?
Yeah.
I think that I could probably get 50 episodes in the 90s.
Right.
And I think I could probably do 3 or 4 episodes a day in the 90s.
And when this came up earlier, I was initially very skeptical of that, because I think
you still are.
I'm very like, yeah. I think that we had a good back and forth, and like I conceded some aspects of it. To be able to kind of like call someone, book a time, and schedule that, and have it already work it with their schedule, is like, it's just a logistical nightmare. Like, we were able to switch stuff around, right? Like, you were able to go from saying like, hey, I'm gonna meet you at someone wants to get in the car.
Am I allowed to get in? Or what should I do?
This is my friend Jesse. I was just messing. Jesse, stick your head in. Here, put your head like right here. This is on frame. Say hi.
Hi.
Special guest.
Salad.
First guest ever.
What's up?
No, we're just gonna finish for
Okay.
another 30 seconds.
Okay.
Do you want us to meet you inside?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll be
So
there.
What's your name?
Pardon?
What's your name?
I'm Nate.
We'll see you inside in like 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah.
We have special guests on this podcast sometimes.
I have no idea who that is. No.
That's my friend Jessie. We're gonna help her shoot her music video in a few seconds here. That's funny.
Yeah.
First ever interaction where you get a knock on the window.
Knock on the window.
Crazy. Okay. You tried to make the argument you wouldn't know as many people without social media, right? And you're totally right, but I feel like even the guests that I've had on, I know from other outside purposes of life. But at the same time, I reached out to you on Facebook to come on this episode. I reached out to Jessie on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So I would have actually not been able to have without that, like
I just don't like. Okay, so like, that's a good way to do it. Using the example of you and I in this context.
Yes.
We have had, as we've talked about in this short time, we have many good memories to look back on of fun adventures wherever.
So many stories.
Whether it's traveling through the States, whether it's Florida, whether it's Leeds, whether it's
oh my gosh, do we have Leeds too?
Yeah, we hung out in Leeds, man.
Bro.
Remember the when I really wanted to go see those rocks, and you guys were both wearing like regular shoes, and I was like, screw it, I'm going through the marsh.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So we've had all these different kind of times together, but as we started at the beginning of this podcast, the last time that we like really hung out was fall of 2018, right? And I think that the thing that has kept us talking has been social media, because either you'll see something I posted, like when I got engaged, or I'll see something you've posted, and we'll interact with that information, right? And I don't know if that didn't exist, if I would be like calling every person who I have, because like we don't hang out that often, right?
True.
There's kind of like that close network of people who like know my heart and soul, who will get every phone call about every major life event.
Yeah.
But I don't know if like these kind of relationships that are like when we're together, it's freaking sweet and we have a great time. Yeah. But those times are few and far between. I don't know if they would exist if it wasn't for social media. You know what I mean?
Totally right, man. And I think that's a great way to end it. And it's almost kind of ironic here because this talk show is about bringing people off of social media back into real life. I don't even know if the right word is ironic.
I mean, but there's layers of irony to that too, because you're posting this on social media.
It's all a mess. You're gonna post it on your Facebook.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna share it to my LinkedIn.
All right, man. We can go on for ages. Let's get out of here.
All right.